They say that the uniform makes the man, but why not add some flavors to your already cool suit? Anything goes for this list, since I'll also be looking at some poses while focusing on the actual transformations. Without further ado,
are you ready?
Classic Henshin heroes were so simple but so charming at the same time. They don't have the intricate CGI of the modern day, and a lot of the time they don't even have very many practical effects. However, every Kamen Rider fan must know of Kamen Rider Ichigo's stretched out arm and a jump to transform. The pose is one that comes back several times throughout the Kamen Rider series, and almost every Showa era rider has the jump. Let's also not forget the wind opening, the Henshin belts, and the flashy colors. I've always wondered how the suit manifests itself onto the user. Well, we did finally get to see the full transformation in Kamen Rider Tyson, Showa vs Heisei. Ichigo may not have been the first transforming hero in history, or even the flashiest, but he is one of the most memorable.
Best match!
This is gonna sound kinda weird, but I like seeing what poses each rider has before they transform. They're completely unnecessary and useless like 99% of the time, but they're the start of a sequence before the big show. It's one reason why I liked watching through Kamen Rider Ryuki. There are 12 riders with unique poses. The titular Ryuki has a variation of the Ichigo pose, Verdi snaps his fingers, Fem has this arm spread thing, and Tiger has a complicated pose that looks cooler every time I see it. Although less is more when it comes to my favorite, Kamen Rider Oja. What could be so great about stretching your arm forward and back? Oja is a cobra. His pose is a snake striking with the open palm representing a snake's open mouth. Yeah, mind blow. As for the transformation itself, at least the fire in the background of Ryuki survived is pretty awesome. Too bad it was for an awful final form.
Are you ready?
Most transformations are done while standing still, with the occasional extra movement. However, I love to see a more interactive Henshin, kind of like Kamen Rider Blades. You would usually see armors and other suits form onto the user as they stand, but a projection from the blade buckle pops out for you to run through, or it can come to you. A projection happens again for X-Aid, but personally I find the standby poses for Blade to already be better than that. While this entry can generally be about any Blade rider, I'm having a bit more of a bias towards Tachibana-san's Kamen Rider Garen. That cold look is more ready to go than the buckle itself.
Best match!
The few good words I have for Ghost is often towards his visuals and music. I gush about the suits, even putting some high in my other countdowns, so naturally I'm going to bring up the transformation here somewhere. Ghost is one of the few seasons that uses stock footage, and I don't think they're terrible. The colors have a nice glow and the effects aren't too bad despite being obvious green screen. The cooler Ghost transformations come from the ones that aren't stock footage, although Deep Spectre's is pretty awesome even though it's used over and over again. Boost Damashi's red fire can hurt my eyes, but Deep Spectre's colors are beautiful, just like the suit. I do love the Ghost Henshins, but not as much as the suits, especially Mugen's. Don't at me.
Are you ready?
Kamen Rider Amazon is one of the few riders that don't say Henshin, so the Amazons keep the same idea. Instead of yelling, they coolly say Amazon. Then a big wave of energy explodes from the belt. Out from the dust comes riders that will decapitate whatever comes in their way. The heavy metal guitar might be a bit too much to an already edgy show, but I think the coolness factor outweighs everything else. No pose needed. Just look cool while standing in an explosion.
Best match!
Less can be more, but it's okay to have style. Who better to be flashy than Kamen Rider Wizard? Much like Ghost, Wizard has some pretty cool visuals, and it should since it's based on magic. Sigils and sparks are normal for a Wizard's Henshin, which makes it seem that much more epic. There's only so much to say about flashiness other than they just look good. There, Wizard, I complimented you.
Are you ready?
A Kamen Rider can be a symbol for hope and justice. But what if the Henshin itself was symbolic of something more personal? Ryo Ashihara is a young man with the world against him, and it was all because of one bad day. Through trials and tribulations, Ryo reveals himself to be Kamen Rider Gills. Considered as a monster to some, but the hero Tokyo needs. When Ryo finally lets everything go for Gills to enter, one of the coolest Henshin sequences begins. Kamen Rider Gills walks behind Ryo as a ray of light shines in the darkness. We don't see Ryo physically turn into Gills that often, but we do get to see Gills as another body. In the G4 movie, Gills protects Ryo from a punch, kind of like a guardian angel, or a monster not wanting his host to die. The symbolism of Ryo leaving it all behind to become the hero that no one wants to see is truly beautiful without being overbearingly artistic or pretentious. As for exceeded gills, it's a thing. Can you tell this was the first entry I wrote for this list?
Best match!
Modern day transformations seem unfair to compare to the past, since technology has advanced and media looks prettier with high definition. Henshins also became more complex, both in the belts and the visuals. It's no longer as simple as Ichigo's arm stretching and his jump. There's nothing wrong with a complex transformation, especially if it's as bad as Kamen Rider Kronos' Chronicle Henshin. A clock is added to the background as Kronos transforms, to add to the theme of time. Take the prop away and this Henshin is still cool as Roman numerals begin to disappear. Time is now in your hands.
Are you ready?
You were all expecting the build Henshin to be on here somewhere. With so many being unique, which one am I going to add to my list? Adding on to the complexity of modern transformations, base build forms use gunplow runners as an aesthetic. It's cool, but maybe a bit too much for my own personal taste. The jingles are top tier though. Henshins with the splash drivers are alright, so I'd mostly note how extra they are. Rabbit Take Sparkling is pretty much the same as Build's base forms, same with Evil. Sorry, I didn't want to say more than that. Cross Z Magma is awesome in concept, but again, too much for what it's trying to accomplish. That leaves only one.
Henshin.
The design is pretty simple. Two blocks slam into each other to reveal the real hazard. From the start of the hazard trigger saying to the blocks forming with yellow hazard tapes, it's all simple, yet effective. I just wish I had similar compliments to Tank Tank and Rabbit Rabbit. Oh well, the base hazard form will always be up there for me. Now for some honorable mentions. Agito's Shining Form. I love the idea of a suit being formed underneath another suit, kind of like the opposite to Build's other hazard forms. I just don't like Shining Form thematically, cause it was introduced 2 episodes after Burn. Kirya. Just Kirya, his kick to transform is amazing. Now for some more honorable mentions, this time by you. I asked the Kamen Rider Amino what their favorites were, and why. Lucy Asked the Pony 16 says, OG, my opinion makes me sound like a weeb, but Kamen Rider Poppy's transformation sequence. I love the jingles. The symbols appearing around her during the sequence reminds me of Decora fashion for some reason, which I love BTW. The homage to Magical Girl shows and the flashy colors are just eye candies. I don't know how to pronounce HHHH, I'm sorry. Yeah, you can see that Lucy's a sucker for cute things. I can watch the sequence for 10 hours and not get bored. OG. Well, I agree with you. Kamen Rider Poppy does have a pretty cute transformation, especially with all the colors and the pink. Pickle says, I like drives more. It's like my ideal sci-fi henshin. Outlines of armor manifesting as it materializes in patches on your body one by one, all happening in a holographic grid that surrounds you. But I also like decades. Can't explain why, but for the most part, drive. Midnight Spectre says, as much as I love Ghosts in all the forms, I would say Kamen Rider Double. I love the simplicity of how they transform and the mechanics used for the driver. It's pretty hard-boiled. I also love the Kamen Rider O's Henshin sequence because of how catchy the combo medley are.
Hello and welcome, I'm Highsea, and I'd like to mention Kamen Rider Double's base Henshin. While I don't think Double's transformation has the most theatrics, I've always loved how it helps to emphasize the themes found inside of the show. A perfect partnership between Shotaro and Philip, 2 detectives inside of one body, needing to trust in each other's abilities to overcome obstacles. When Shotaro, the man on the streets, comes upon a dopant, he needs to call upon his partner Philip's intelligence. Snapping on the double driver, installing their individual Gaia memories, striking a cool pose, and combining into a single rider, because together, they make up for what each other lacks, making Kamen Rider Double one of my favorite henshins.
Yo guys, GlennShiraishi here with an honorable mention for you all. My honorable mention goes to the henshin sequences of Kamen Rider Build, Cross Z Charge, Grease, and Rogue. I honestly like these sequences because of how well they tie in with the theme of construction and science. From like plastic model kit runners, science beakers, these get an A+ from me.
As you may or may not know, I really like Build, and I really like Build's Henshin. What perfected Build's Henshin? The answer to that is Cross Z and his other forms, except for Cross Charge, because Cross Charge is bad. Cross Z, Cross, Kurozu, whatever you want to call him, his Henshin is word for word builds. The Gunpla runners come up, he does a fist thing, he says Henshin, they smack him, and then he appears, and you know what, it's really cool, but then a freaking dragon comes up and just goes on top of him. It's the coolest thing I've ever seen in my entire life, as you've probably seen from other videos. Oh my god! It's like... Cross Z Magma is that times a million. It doesn't have the Gunpla runners, which was kind of sad. Literally a friggin' thing of magma comes up behind Ryuga, pours on his head, puts his body in stone or something, dragons come out and they go... It breaks, he busts out of the stone, he's in the best Kamen Rider suit I've ever seen in my entire life. And he's like, oh, I'm burning up! Oh yeah, I love Cross Z!
Hello, and welcome to the Gokai Orange Honorable Mention Corner, where Gokai Orange delivers an honorable mention. So, here he is, Gokai Orange. Ah, hello there. You scared the crap out of me. Today I'm giving you my honorable mention for Kamen Rider Henshin sequences. Well, in an unbelievable amount of laziness, my pick goes to... Shin Kamen Rider. Yes, I've already mentioned Shin under suit designs, but the transformation itself is just as impressive. Shin's transformation is a deconstruction of these Henshin sequences as a whole. Instead of being quick and flashy, it's drawn out and very painful. His clothes rip, his skin bulges out, his hands grow claws, and the lower part of his jaw splits in two. The initial transformation doesn't make you excited to see an iconic fight scene. It makes you horrified that this thing could even be classified as a Kamen Rider in the first place. Even when Shin transforms later on, the music doesn't convey triumph or high spirits. It just sounds melancholic. This kind of Henshin goes to show you that not all of them are pretty to watch.
My number one pick has everything I love about a Kamen Rider Henshin. Theme song, effectiveness, story importance, the poses, not too simple, not too complex, and it's in one of my favorite seasons. First off, its theme. Unlimited Drive by Kamen Rider Girls is f***ing amazing. Drive type Trideron is more than effective in combat, often being used in place of any base drive forms. Without spoiling too much from the season, Type Trideron is used during a major turning point, while also connecting both its user and the belts in a much deeper way. The pose is like any regular drive transformation, but there's a bit of extra flair to its already epic debut. The transformation itself doesn't have any complicated gunpla runners, magma, and doesn't even require a literal jump. However, it has a rider machine float around its user to manifest itself as an amazing suit. Kamen Rider Drive, Type Trideron, is my favorite Kamen Rider Henshin sequence. I'm Marcosatsu. Thank you for 18,000 subs, and please watch Legend Hero.
Good to see you guys. Taking care of all of you is also part of my job. Henshin!